There's something deeply wrong with this school. And no one is talking about it. A nun who died under mysterious circumstances, phantom basketball games echoing through empty gymnasiums, and teachers who lose their minds literally after entering these classrooms. I didn't believe it either, until the stories started piling up. And one of them seemed to be about me. A year before I even got here. They say every school has its secrets. Ours? It holds a ghost. It happened a while ago. The story had been floating around for years, passed down from teacher to student like a half-whispered warning. 14 years ago, they say, a nun died in our school. Back then, the school was run by a religious order. The nun, whose name no one seems to remember, fell down a steep, narrow staircase inside the library. She didn't survive the fall. They say it broke her neck instantly. Since then, strange things have happened, all tied to that one place. I was curious and once asked my science teacher about it. She didn't say much, just gave me this weird look and said, some things are better left alone. But one of my friends had her own story. There's a small room inside the library, tucked away behind a wooden doorway. That's where the staircase is, the same one the nun supposedly fell from. My friend was walking into that little room during a break. She wasn't thinking about anything, just heading in to return a book. But as she stepped into the doorway, she bumped into someone. She said it felt exactly like brushing past a real person, solid, warm even. They were wearing black. She turned around immediately to apologize. There was no one there. She ran out without returning the book. But the most disturbing story came from my old English teacher. Let's call her Miss. There's a classroom connected directly to the library, separated by one of those sliding accordion-style doors. One afternoon, Miss went to open it. As she slid it just a few centimeters, maybe 10 at most, it slammed shut from the other side, hard. Thinking it was one of her students messing around, she called out, "Let go of the door." No response. She pushed it open again, this time with more force, and what she saw made her freeze. Standing just a few feet away was a tall figure in a black nun's habit. Not facing her. Just standing there, still. Silent. The air in the room was ice cold. Miss blinked, and in that split second, the figure was gone, just like that. She said she never told anyone officially. Didn't want to sound crazy. But ever since, she refuses to teach in that room if the library door is unlocked. Over time, we started to realize something. These encounters didn't happen after dark, or on weekends, or when the school was empty. They all happened during school hours, when the building was full. When no one expected anything strange, so maybe it was just a rumor. Maybe there was no nun. No accident. Maybe it's just one of those creepy school legends that spiraled out of control, but then again. Maybe not, because if you ever find yourself alone in that library, and you feel something brush past you, something cold, something unseen, don't turn around. She doesn't like being seen. This had never happened to us before. Not like this. Not during an actual investigation. And definitely not while we were filming our television show. We had a special guest joining us that night, a veteran investigator. He'd been to the school before, and what he told us still gives me chills. He said that on his last visit, his team had set up sleeping quarters in a room above the old gymnasium. Sometime past midnight, they were jolted awake by the unmistakable sound of a basketball game happening right beneath them. We're talking full-on, dribbling, sneakers squeaking, whistles, even what sounded like a slam dunk. They all rushed downstairs. When they opened the doors to the gym, silence. The court was empty, no lights. No sound. No one, He said it freaked them out so bad they packed up and left early, so, naturally, when we arrived to investigate, we had to try and recreate the moment. I brought out a spirit communication tool we call the Devil's Jersey box, kind of like a spirit radio, designed to pick up frequencies beyond our range. We were sitting in the hallway when it started, at first, just faint static. Then, suddenly clear as day, the sound of a basketball game came through the box. We froze. It wasn't just a dribble. We heard an announcer. The echo of a referee's whistle. The rhythmic thud of a ball. Our guest went pale. That's what I heard. He whispered. That's exactly what I heard that night. I picked up the box and walked toward the gym. The sounds were still playing. We opened the heavy double doors. The court stretched out in darkness. But the game was still going on through the box. I placed a digital recorder at center court, just in case. Then I set up an EDI device at one end with a geophone sensor that picks up movement. Within seconds, it started lighting up. Something was moving across the gym floor, fast, like someone running. I rushed to the other end and placed a second geophone. We watched in stunned silence as the lights blinked back and forth, in perfect rhythm like a player running plays. Back and forth. Again and again, and the sounds kept coming. The ball. The shoes. The band playing in the background. Even a call for a slam dunk, but here's what was strange, there was no cheering. No applause. No shouting, it was a basketball game. Without a crowd, just the game, like a memory caught on loop echoing across time. We stood there for what felt like hours, just watching, listening. This was the kind of encounter investigators dream of. A phantom game played by no one, then just as quickly as it began the sound stopped. We reviewed everything after. And that's when it got worse. Every piece of footage from our two main cameras was corrupted. Static. Frozen frames. Useless, but the audio recorder I left on the court, it captured everything, the game. The squeaks. The slam dunk. Even the band. No one believed us until they heard that recording, and honestly, I'm not sure what haunts that court, but whatever it is, it never left the game. I heard a story today that I absolutely can't shake. I think someone time jumped during a mental breakdown to send me a message, and I think it could be related to something supernatural. Was this a warning? Something demonic? A little bit of personal background. My entire life, I have always considered myself spiritually tapped in. I am by no means a practicing psychic, but I have always had paranormal experiences in one form or another. From seeing and hearing spirits and feeling energies almost everywhere I go, to dealing with the hyperactive mimic in my current home, it's always been kind of inescapable. I'd say my third eye is squinting, but is by no means fully open. Flash forward to the 2024/2025 school year. I am currently a teacher at a Catholic elementary school in a high-crime, low-income area. Every school, especially Catholic schools, comes with its fair share of stories and energies. My current place of employment is no different. I have always felt like something was off, but I tried to push that nagging feeling aside. I've heard stories of a nun that died in her sleep on the property in the mid-1900s but hadn't thought much of it before. Turns out my current classroom used to be the nuns' sleeping quarters. That's not what tripped me up, though. Neither was the paranormal experiences I've had in my classroom. Things like chairs moving, waters being thrown, etc. Even down to our classroom elf moving on its own. Now, these are difficult children. I've never worked with such difficult kids behavior-wise, and I've been a teacher since 2016. So I can understand why teachers are having psychotic breaks. Hell, even I have cried over the behaviors and stressors. But after hearing this story, it's not sitting normal. Let's talk about this year before I get into it. The other third grade teacher was on maternity leave. The long-term sub in there, let's call her Miss Jonah, had a psychotic break 2 weeks in. Talking to things that aren't there, lost concept of time and space. A really crazy breakdown, and she was hospitalized for over a week because of it. On the last day that she was there, I walked in and she was having a full-blown conversation with the mirror, pacing, jittery, etc. She had the kids packed up for dismissal 2 hours early, not realizing the time. Forgot where the lunchroom was and brought them down 30 minutes early and just left them. Definitely not a normal break. Now let's take a step back to the 2023/2024 school year. Again, I did not work at this school at this point. I worked in a completely different town. I didn't even know anyone there. There was a paraprofessional in kindergarten who helped out the rooms. Let's call him Mr. Max. One day Mr. Max had manic psychotic break. He walked into a first grade room and said he couldn't find third grade and needed to talk to Miss Green, me, and the first grade teacher. Mrs. Lance said, "Do you mean Miss Crane?" The third grade teacher at the time, "There's no Miss Green." She was confused how he didn't know where third grade was, because it's been half a school year so far. It's a small school, everyone knows all the staff names and where everything is. So asking for a random teacher and not remembering where a schoolroom was halfway through the year wasn't normal. He kept saying, "No, Miss Green. I was told to talk to her. I need to talk to Miss Green." He proceeded to get aggressive, talking about how he didn't need Miss Crane, he was told he needed to talk to Miss Green. When walked to third grade, since he couldn't remember where it was, Mr. Max said, "This isn't Miss Green's room. This isn't Miss Green." He looked at Miss Crane. Mr. Max was so sure he needed to talk to Miss Green. It's like he knew what I looked like, because he said Miss Crane wasn't me. It's like he knew what my classroom looked like, because he said that room wasn't mine. He couldn't find it. He was adamant on talking to Miss Green. Then Mr. Max spiraled into his psychotic break, where he started getting physical and screaming and ended up locking himself in a room with a kid. He was terminated and hospitalized. So that's 2 people who have been hospitalized by manic-like breakdowns in the same time frame, but a year apart. I've never seen teachers have psychotic breaks like this. Do you think there's something paranormal going on? Something demonic? I mean, this is a Catholic school. Can there be demons in a place of worship? But these incidences are way too crazy for me to push aside. It's like Mr. Max was so tapped in spiritually and went a year into the future looking for me. How did he know who I was? I feel crazy. Should I take this as some type of warning? Is there something at this school making teachers have psychotic breaks? Should I be concerned? Take some measured steps. Is this something warning me, or maybe trying to harm me? There's so many ways to think about this. Please give me any advice or thoughts you have and ask me any questions. I'm not scared, but I'm mind blown and I feel like I'm spiraling over what this could mean and what could happen. 2 teachers, 2 mental breaks, a man who somehow knew my name before we ever met. And a school that's hiding more than just forgotten history. I used to think I was just sensitive to the paranormal, but now I'm starting to wonder. What if something has been watching me long before I ever arrived? And if that's true, what does it want?